Yes, he gets attached, but not when you give him everything. He gets attached when you activate something in him that no one else has managed to awaken. Today you're going to discover what that is, why it grabs hold of him, and how to become that woman who, without chasing him, leaves a lasting mark on his soul effortlessly. I'm going to reveal the 5 triggers that awaken real emotional attachment, not with words, but through his unconscious reaction when he feels that losing you would mean losing something he can't find anywhere else. So go ahead and like this video and subscribe. It's totally free for you and it really supports me. Share it with someone you know needs to hear this. Ready? Let's go. First trigger, he doesn't get attached because of what you give, but because of how he feels about himself when he's with you. This might hurt, but it's the truth. A man doesn't stay because of everything you do for him. He stays because of how he feels about himself when he's around you. It doesn't matter how much you love him, care for him, or wait for him. If, when he's with you, he feels confused, empty, frustrated, or even inferior, he won't get attached. He may desire you. He may enjoy spending time with you. He may even lean on you when he's down, but he won't form an emotional bond. Because real attachment doesn't come from the body. It comes from the reflection you give him, how he experiences himself in your presence. And if that version of himself feels seen, admired, uplifted, if his ego feels nourished but not threatened, if his shadow isn't triggered as a defense mechanism, then a connection forms that his mind can't cut off. And it doesn't matter if he realizes it consciously or not. His instinct feels it. His emotional system memorizes it, and his soul starts to come back to you without understanding why. Carl Jung said, "We don't love people. We love the sensations we awaken through them." And that is brutally true when it comes to male emotional attachment. Let me tell you something Paula went through, without anyone explaining it to her. She's 36 and she summed it up like this. "I was with a man who wasn't perfect, and I wasn't trying to make him perfect either. But when he was with me, he laughed more. He talked about his childhood without pain. He dreamed about things he'd never dared to before. One day he told me, 'With you, I feel like the best man I can be. And that scares me because I never felt that with anyone else.'" That was the moment he started to get emotionally attached. Not because she was pleasing him or pampering him or chasing him, but because she became the space where he could feel emotionally free, without judgment. And that, Gabriel, you don't find just anywhere. That's what his mind remembers. What his body searches for, what his soul starts to need, even if he can't explain it. And here's a revelation almost no one tells you. A man can have sex with many women, but he only forms an attachment to the one who makes him feel like a better man. Not stronger, not more admired. Better, more at peace, more authentic, more himself. And that feeling isn't born out of sacrifice. It's born out of your center. When you're not trying to please him, not trying to prove you're the best option, not trying to control whether he chooses you, you start to emit an emotional frequency that says, "Here, you can breathe. You're not being tested here." And that is what makes him stay. Not your beauty, not your devotion, not your displays of love, but the emotional mirror you hold up to him, one he can't find anywhere else. So if you've been asking yourself why he didn't get attached to you, why he didn't value it even after you gave him everything, it's time to ask a deeper question. How did he feel about himself when he was with me? Did he feel challenged, judged, analyzed? Or did he feel free, calm, seen? Not based on your intentions, but based on what his ego and his emotional body received. Because sometimes you think you're making him feel loved, but he feels evaluated. You think you're showing your worth, but he feels pressured. And that doesn't create attachment. That creates escape. So how do you change that? Not by pretending to be cold, not by playing hard to get, not by using techniques, but by connecting with yourself so deeply that you don't need him to validate you or to feel like you're doing things right. When he senses that you're at peace with yourself, that you're not trying to fix him or save him, that you see him as he is and still don't dissolve yourself to be with him, that calms him, disarms him, bonds him to you. Because an emotionally immature man clings to chaos, but a man who's starting to awaken clings to the calm you radiate from your center. And once he experiences that, it leaves a mark. There are many beautiful women, many intelligent women, many amazing women. But the woman who makes him feel like a better man without manipulating him, she is the one who stays with him. She becomes his emotional root. She starts to occupy space in his soul. And even if he denies it, even if he distances himself, even if he resists, he knows. His body remembers. His shadow searches. His mind replays it. Because a woman who connected him to his best inner self, that kind of woman isn't forgotten. She's missed in silence. She's desired without reason. And she's often lost because he didn't understand her in time. So what happens when a woman doesn't need to be liked and yet he still chooses her? That's where the second trigger comes in, the one that bonds him emotionally in a way he can't resist. Second trigger. When you don't need him to like you, but he chooses you anyway. The I'm the lucky one effect. Before we go on, if this message is already stirring something inside you, subscribe now and hit like. That way YouTube knows it's valuable and recommends it more. Thank you. There's a feeling that completely disarms the male ego. And it's not when you tell him you love him, not when you try hard to please him, not even when you do everything right. It's when, from his own little world, he looks at you and realizes he has no power over you. And yet he still wants to stay, not because you're trying, but because you don't need him. And that quiet, unshakable confidence you carry makes him feel like if he doesn't choose you, he's losing something he'll never find again. That's one of the most subtle and most powerful moments when a man starts to emotionally attach. When you're not begging for his attention, and yet he feels lucky to have yours. This happened to someone who wasn't even looking for it. A woman named Natalia, 38, wrote to me, "I felt good with him, but I didn't feel empty without him. I didn't text him every day. I didn't ask if he missed me. I didn't try to secure anything. And yet he always came back. One day he said to me, 'I don't understand why you matter so much to me. I feel like if I lose you, I lose something I'll never be able to replace.'" And she wasn't doing it as a tactic. She was just so full of herself that she didn't project any lack. She didn't chase him. She didn't provoke him to get his attention. She just was. And that simple being, that was her greatest power. Because male attachment isn't triggered by reward. It's triggered by contrast. When he realizes that with you, nothing is guaranteed, but what he does receive makes him feel valuable, seen, and free all at once. That changes everything. And here comes one of the hardest truths no one tells you. A man doesn't get attached when he feels you want him to like you. He gets attached when he feels lucky that you like him. Because in that moment, you're no longer the woman hoping to be chosen. You've become the woman who chooses from a place of calm, dignity, and a quiet energy that neither begs nor demands. And that is the energy that leaves a mark on him. Because it reminds him of something he was never taught to handle. The magnetism of a woman who doesn't need his validation. And you know what's the most powerful part of all this? It's that when you're not competing, when you're not trying to prove your worth, when you're not radiating hidden anxiety, he lets his guard down and starts to show up as himself. No defenses, no games, no masks. And that space of authenticity, that's where real attachment is born. Not because of what you do, but because of what he feels when he's with you. Because a woman who isn't bending over backwards to be accepted becomes the space where a man feels chosen for who he is, not for what he can perform. And that makes him come back, not out of need, but because of genuine emotional attraction. So how do you activate that in yourself? Here are 3 signals that naturally give off this magnetic energy. 3 signs of a woman who doesn't need him to like her, but he chooses her anyway. 1. She's okay with silence. She doesn't rush to fill the gaps. She doesn't panic when he goes quiet. She doesn't spin her wheels trying to interpret everything because her world doesn't revolve around getting a reply. 2. She doesn't give away her time easily. She's not always available. She doesn't reply instantly. She doesn't rearrange her life for a vague promise, and far from pushing him away, that intrigues him. 3. She doesn't try to control the connection. She doesn't ask, "What are we?" She doesn't demand labels. She observes. And if something doesn't feel aligned, she simply doesn't force it. That freedom she carries, that's what makes him stay. Not to control her, but because he wants to keep feeling what he feels around her. A man might be attracted to many women, but he only attaches deeply to the one who doesn't need him, but chooses him anyway. To the one who doesn't chase him, but honors him with her presence when he's near. Because his mind holds on to a single thought. I don't know how you do it, but you make me feel like having you is a privilege. And that is where real emotional attachment begins. Now in this next part, we're going to uncover the third trigger, the one that bonds him to you in a way he doesn't even understand. The unique emotional experience he lives with you, one that no other woman can replicate. Because his body remembers it, his soul longs for it, and his ego can't replace it. Third trigger, the unique emotional experience, what he can't find in anyone else. So his mind starts searching for it in you. There are women a man remembers fondly, others with desire, a few with guilt. But there's one, just one, he simply can't let go of. And it's not the one who gave him everything, not the perfect one, not the one who begged him to stay. It's the one who gave him an emotional experience that he just can't duplicate with anyone else. A feeling that hit a place in him so real, so deep, so inexplicable. His ego doesn't know how to process it, but his body memorized it, and his soul tucked it away. That woman wasn't the most available. She wasn't the most accommodating. She wasn't the one who always said yes. She was the one who gently held up a mirror to parts of himself he'd never seen. The one who supported him without carrying him. The one who listened without correcting. The one who didn't try to change him, but somehow changed his whole vibration. That kind of experience isn't forgotten. It might have been just a conversation, a shared laugh, a peaceful silence, a glance, not meant to seduce him, but to see him. And that's what he doesn't find in other women. He might search for it. He might pretend it's there. He might project it onto someone new. But if he's already lived it with you, no one else can give it to him the same way. And that's when the comparison starts, without him even realizing. Not comparing your body, not your texts. He compares the feeling, the emotional calm he had with you, even if he couldn't name it at the time. One man told me this with absolute honesty. I was with a few women after her, smart, attractive, intense, but something was always missing. It wasn't that they did anything wrong. It's just that with her, I felt like everything was right. Even in silence, even when she said nothing, there was a peace I haven't found anywhere else. That's what stays with him. That's what bonds him. That's what brings him back years later, just to see how you're doing. Because it's not you he misses as a person. It's what he felt about himself when he was with you. And he lived that through an emotional experience his ego doesn't know how to recreate with anyone else. And here's the raw truth. You can't fake this. You can't trigger it using tactics. You can't copy it from a video. Because that experience he had with you, it doesn't come from what you do. It comes from who you are when you're connected to your truth. You're not acting. You're not trying to be special. You're not competing. You're just present, without fear, without anxiety, without a mask. And that kind of presence, so rare today, so hard to find, is what his emotional body recognizes as one of a kind. Because in that moment, he feels free, but held, accepted, but not smothered, seen, but not judged. And for a man who walks through life on the defensive, who's used to being pressured, questioned, or ignored, that is pure emotional medicine. And like any real medicine, when he loses it, his whole system notices. He starts to feel like something's missing. He doesn't understand why everything else feels the same, except you. So how do you activate this kind of emotional experience? It's not with techniques, it's with authenticity, inner alignment, and a peace that can't be bought, only cultivated. Here are the 3 most important keys to creating that experience in a man, not by doing it for him, but by living it through you. 3 keys to creating an emotional experience that stays with him, even if he doesn't know why. 1. Your energy isn't asking him for anything. You're not waiting for him to choose you. You're not trying to control the connection. You're just enjoying, feeling, flowing, and that removes the pressure for him to perform emotionally. When a man doesn't feel judged, he relaxes, and that's when attachment starts. 2, you give him space without losing yourself. He feels free to be himself, but you're still there. You don't orbit around his emotions. You don't disappear into what he wants. You're a steady mirror, not an emotional void. And that makes him stay because he feels free but not alone. 3, you're not trying to impress him, but you impact him anyway. You're not aiming to be the perfect woman. You're not shaping your words to fit him. You're not agreeing just to please him. You're simply being you, with presence, with strength, with unforced kindness, and healthy, non-aggressive boundaries. And that to him is magnetic, because his soul feels held, while his ego doesn't feel threatened. And that's what leaves a mark. Not what you gave him, not what you did for him, but what he felt and could only feel with you. And you know what the most powerful part of that is? That when he tries to recreate it with someone else, when he convinces himself he can build the same connection with another woman, when he tells himself it was just chemistry, a part of his body will respond, no, it wasn't just that. It was her. It was what she awakened in me. And that's what causes a man to form a deep emotional attachment, not because of what you gave him, but because of what he felt about himself when he was with you, on a level he didn't even know existed. Now listen closely. You're about to discover how to seal that attachment, because there's something even more powerful than what he feels with you. It's what you project without saying a word, the nonverbal language that draws him in, binds him to you, and pulls him back, without you having to lift a finger. 4th trigger, the nonverbal language that binds him, how your eyes, your tone, and your energy seal the bond without effort. There's something that happens in him long before he can name it. Before he says, I like you, before he says, you matter to me, even before he says, I don't know what it is about you. It happens in silence. It happens without words. It happens when you look at him without fear, speak without anxiety, and stay present without overgiving. And even if he doesn't understand it, his body reacts. His emotional system registers an energy that leaves a mark, as if his subconscious were saying, this is different. This makes me want to stay. It's not what you said. It's not what you did. It's what you projected. Because you can be sweet and he still might not stay. You can tell him you love him and he can still walk away. You can give him everything and he still won't get attached. But when your nonverbal language transmits an emotional experience that elevates him, that makes him feel like he's in the presence of something valuable, a connection forms that overrides his will. Carl Jung said that the soul speaks in symbols, and that the unconscious speaks to the unconscious. And that's exactly what happens when, without words, you're saying everything. A woman once shared with me an experience she had with a man years ago. I never told him what I felt. We never had a deep conversation about love, but every time he saw me, he searched for me with his eyes, touched me gently, and once he said, with you, I feel at home, and I don't know why. I just know I don't want to leave. She hadn't done anything in particular. She was simply present, fully authentic, not vibrating from lack, not trying to win him over, not trying to impress. And that was what pulled him in. Because the most powerful thing about your presence is not what you say, it's what your energy field says about you when you're no longer pretending. Now let me show you what your nonverbal language communicates when you're truly connected to yourself, and why that is what leaves a lasting imprint on him, even if he doesn't realize it. 1. Your gaze isn't seeking approval, it sees without judgment. A woman who's not begging for approval with her eyes, but simply sees the man for who he is, without needing to change him, radiates a strength that disarms him. He lowers his defenses, he stops performing, he relaxes, and in that moment, he begins to associate you with something his soul wants to feel again. Authenticity without threat. And that creates emotional attachment, without you trying. 2, your tone is soft, but firm, like someone who's not competing. When you speak without urgency, without anxiety, without trying to manipulate or control the conversation, he doesn't think about it, he feels it. That sense that you're not in battle mode, not trying to win his love, makes him feel free. And that freedom is what makes him associate you with peace. And wherever there's peace, there's real emotional connection. 3, your energy doesn't orbit around him, but still embraces him. When you're present, open, warm, but not automatically emotionally available, he notices. Not because you say so, but because he feels it. And that forces him to value your presence, to stop assuming he has access to you, to start asking himself, what is it about her that gives so much without giving herself away? And when a man starts asking that question, he's already emotionally marked. Something in his field is already connected to you, even if he hasn't said it yet. So how do you train this nonverbal language? Not by pretending to be confident, not by acting cold. You train it when you cleanse yourself of the urgency to be liked, when you stop speaking from a place of emptiness, when you stop living from the need to be chosen. Then your body communicates everything. Your silence becomes magnetic. Your gaze becomes a mirror. Your voice becomes an invitation, not a demand. And he feels drawn to you without understanding why. Because now you're no longer the woman who waits for him. You're the woman who is there and could just as easily not be. And that binds him. A man can forget your words. He can ignore your gestures. He can even rationalize why he walked away. But what he felt when he looked at you, when you were calm, when your energy didn't pressure him, that memory gets triggered again and again, and that's why he comes back, or why he can't let go, or why he dreams about you, or why he looks for you in others. Because the bond wasn't sealed with a conversation, it was sealed with a vibration, and that doesn't go away easily. Now in the next point, I'm going to show you how to sustain that connection without betraying yourself, how to stay present, magnetic, and real, without losing your center out of fear of losing him. Because the truth is, he gets more attached when you no longer revolve around him. 5th and final trigger. How to sustain the connection without betraying yourself. He gets more attached. When you stay in your center, by now you understand how a man starts to form emotional attachment, not because of what you do, but because of what he feels about himself when he's with you, because of the emotional experience only you gave him, because of the nonverbal connection that draws him in effortlessly. But now comes the most important part. How do you sustain that connection without losing yourself? Because what happens to many women is this. After they've activated that unconscious attachment, once they realize he's more emotionally present, more attentive, more engaged, they let their guard down. They shift their center toward him. I've got him now, they think, and without noticing, they start to lose him. Why? Because male emotional attachment breaks the moment he senses that you're no longer you, but a version of yourself that's more committed to him than to yourself. Let me put it this clearly. He stays attached when you keep being you, even when he's around, even when he loves you, even when you choose him. And you, when you feel he's finally connected, finally emotionally present, finally sees you, sometimes without realizing it, you start to make small sacrifices. You reply faster. You cancel plans to fit his. You shift your subtle energy out of fear of losing what you just gained. And in that moment, you're no longer the woman who made him attach. You're now the woman acting out of fear. And he feels it. Carl Jung once said, "Nothing splits a person more than betraying themselves to be accepted." And that applies directly to love. A woman once wrote me something that stuck with me. He felt so connected. I stopped doing my own things to make more time for him. I told him I admired him more often. I gave him more than he ever asked for. And within a short time, I felt him drift. I became more his than mine. And I lost him when I thought I already had him. And that's what can't happen again. Because true feminine magnetism doesn't live in total surrender. It lives in constant connection to yourself. So how do you sustain that connection without losing yourself? by doing something modern feminine narcissism tends to reject, with emotional integrity, the ability to feel deeply without losing your center, to love profoundly without abandoning yourself, to choose him without stopping choosing you. And that's not coldness, it's wisdom. Because you're not here to hand over your entire world just because a man now sees you. You're here to remember that you are the center, and it was from that center that he bonded with you. Not from your obsession, not from your anxiety, from your quiet light, from your authenticity without expectations. Here are the 4 keys to sustaining the connection without ever betraying yourself again. First, your life continues, even when he shows up. Don't put your goals, your dreams, or your passions on pause just because he's now showing up more consistently. The moment your life starts to revolve around him, he feels it, and his desire starts to fade. He got attached to a woman who had her own world, not to one who abandoned hers for his. Second, your boundaries remain, even if he loves you now. Just because he came back, just because he's more open, just because now he calls you first or reaches out more, doesn't mean you have to throw all the doors open. Your energy remains selective. Your time is still sacred. Your love isn't on clearance. It's in alignment, and that keeps him present. Third, your mystery doesn't disappear just because he knows you better. Don't explain everything. Don't include him in every thought. Don't hand over access to every emotion you experience. Hold something back, not to play games, but to respect yourself. Real mystery isn't silence. It's not fully exposing yourself out of fear of losing him. Fourth, your center stays yours, even if you love him, even if you feel he's the one, even if everything is flowing beautifully, your anchor is internal. You are the foundation, you are the root, and if you ever feel yourself slipping, return to yourself before he starts to drift too. Because the most powerful paradox is this: he got attached to you because you weren't his, because you didn't need him to take care of you, because you didn't give him everything without him earning it, because you showed him that having you was a privilege. And now that he's closer, that privilege should never feel guaranteed. It should feel alive, upheld, present. Not from blind surrender, but from a woman who loves herself enough to never disappear in the name of love. And if he senses that, if he feels that you're still you, that you're not dissolving into the connection, that you're still solid ground, even as he gets closer, then the attachment goes even deeper. It becomes a stable emotional bond, a connection that doesn't depend on drama, but on the respect you have for yourself. And that's what makes a man not only attach, but begin to commit emotionally without even knowing why. Because now it's not just about what he feels with you, it's about what he's willing to protect so he doesn't lose you again. He doesn't attach because of what you give him. He attaches because of what you awaken in him when you don't lose yourself to have him, when you remain you, even though he's already chosen you. Because the real emotional bond isn't born from your effort. It's born from your center, from your calm, from that silent certainty you emit when you know you don't have to prove your worth, because you already are. Write in the comments, "He stays because I no longer lose myself." And let that sentence heal every time you gave too much just to avoid being abandoned. Because from today forward, you will no longer be the woman who overgives, hoping to be loved. You'll be the woman who knows her power, who stays in her center, and who creates real connection from the truth of her presence. And if he ever wonders why he can't let you go, why he can't replace you, why he can't forget you, it's because deep down, he already knows. He got attached to the experience that he only lived with you. And no matter how much he tries to deny it, his soul has already kept the memory. If this message resonated with you, I invite you to leave a powerful like, subscribe, and be sure to hit the notification bell. But above all, don't leave just yet. There's so much more waiting for you. Dive into the other videos here on the channel and keep expanding your energy and your power. I'll see you in the next video.